If you're at all familiar with my music and know a thing or two about music production, it should be pretty obvious that I love comb filters. That's why today I'm excited to talk about this new plugin called UZU by U-Bristow. First, I want to talk about the original comb filters, the flanger and the phaser. The flanger creates harmonically spaced notches in the frequency spectrum. It's made by combining two identical signals and delaying one slightly, and the destructive interference creates harmonic notches. As I increase the time delay, the notches get closer together and create a lower pitch effect. Conversely, a phaser, very similar, it's a comb filter but creates inharmonically spaced notches. It does this by taking two identical signals and phase shifting one and then combining them. The phase shift is an all-pass filter, which basically delays the lower frequencies from the higher frequencies. That's why it creates inharmonic distribution. You can also increase the notches and how far they're spread apart. But what both of these cannot do is infinitely go in one direction. They oscillate. They go up and then down and then up and then down. They have a fixed limit of how much they can actually rotate. Now, a frequency shifter, on the other hand, when combined with the dry signal, will interfere in this infinite way, such as you can see on the spectrum. It goes infinite in one direction. However, it does not change the spacing between the notches. Before we get to UZU, I want to talk about additive synthesizers, particularly Razor and Harmor. These are synthesizers that I've used for a long time, and what is particular about them, they can achieve this infinite phaser effect because additive synthesizers are not actually subtractively filtering audio. The filters in additive synthesizers are mathematical filters that do operations on the amplitudes of the harmonic partials, and that's what allows you to get filter shapes that are impossible to do with traditional analog filters. So for instance, we have the comb notch filter. We can adjust the spacing, the distribution, and the rate and direction, as well as the peak width. And we also have Harmor's phaser that can do the same thing. We can adjust the spacing, the speed and direction, the width of the peak, and then also the distribution. And this is great, but there really has not been a reliable way to do that sort of effect with live real-time audio until now. UZU is that spectral filter, but can be applied to any sound. It's actually a filter, it's not a synthesizer. So for instance, with operator, I'm using the saw wave, and if I turn on UZU, by default it doesn't move, but we can already see that there are notches in the spectrum. Let's just increase the speed. There we go. We already have this infinite moving phaser-like effect. We have the width control, which adjusts how far apart the notches are. We have a depth control, which determines how narrow the peaks are, kind of like resonance. We have a mix control, which is simply like a dry wet. And we have a blur control, which is sort of like a quantize. It makes it steppier. In addition to that, we also have a offset control, which if I have the speed off, this allows me to manually change the phase offset of the notch position. And we also have a hertz to octave fader, which allows me to redistribute the notches from logarithmic spacing, which is more so equally perceptive, to something more exponential, where the peaks are much closer in the top end. Additionally, we have a 5x multiplier, which basically just speeds it up 5 times. And this is cool because you can do audio rate modulation effects. Get some really cool fluttery stuff like this. We have keep bass, which preserves pretty much all the frequencies below 400 hertz, especially good for bass design, to have that solid sub while affecting the top end. And then we have the FFT buffer size. And this essentially increases our frequency resolution at the expense of time resolution. So we can have closer together, more sharp notches. But as we increase, we get less time resolution. At extreme values, we get a lot of time blurring. You can see in the display, the frame rate is reduced. Now, this is not a CPU usage artifact. This is actually the refresh rate of the FFT buffer. As we reduce this, we get a much faster update speed. So this is just a sawtooth wave, but already you can probably see the implications of how powerful this thing is. Here's some other sound design techniques you do with UZU. I have a laser bass. Without any processing, it's just this operator, which is simply a square wave that pitches up, modulated by a sine wave. Then I'm applying UZU, OTT, reverb, some EQ, an auto pan for it to flutter, another OTT, and a saturator. Now, if I cut out all of these other processing things, you can see with these three automations what's actually going on. I'm modulating the width, kind of having it sweep up in the beginning, and then dip back down, and then back up. And then with the offset, I'm just making it essentially rise higher and higher. I can go in the opposite direction too. And then I have an auto pan, which I'm just automating the amount of. So what happens when we add the OTT, that's the initial spectral compression, some reverb for width, a little bit of EQ to just cut out some of the low mids, then the auto pan, another OTT to kind of compress the auto pan, and then saturator. And the width control in UZU is really controlling the overall pitch. If we make the width slightly higher, we get a lower pitch sound, and when it's lower, we get a higher screechier sound. Also, it's at 4096, and that just makes it so the spectral resolution is really high. Next, we have a lifter. And this is quite simple as well. This is really just an operator playing some bandpass white noise and macroed. What UZU is doing is having the width, the offset, and the depth being modulated with this macro. And then multiband at the end, as well as some delay, just for spaciousness and compression. I'm also using the 5x toggle to make the offset have more rotations. And then lastly, we have this phasery chord pad. And this is a combination of 3 UZUs in parallel. Here's what it sounds like without UZU. And with. In each one of these UZUs, these are pretty much identical except for 2 things. The width control is different for each one. And the speed is also going in opposing directions. 2 of them are going down, and then 1 of them is going up. And without the reverb, we could really hear what's going on. Here's an example of UZU being used in one of the songs I'm working on. Here's how it sounds without it. It's just kind of this boring sustained bass, but with UZU. It's so cool. It's so lasery. Completely transforms it. It's really simple. I'm just automating the speed and the mix. It's great. If you like UZU, there's a code in the description. I'd appreciate you using it. Check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.